Paul Foster-Bill.
Tēnā koe e te mana whakawā tuarua, tēnā koutou katoa e ngā mema o te whare. Sir, in speaking to the Education, Restoration of Democracy to University Council's Amendment Bill in this first reading debate, I want to begin by saying I disagree with almost every sentiment expressed by the recently dumped former tertiary education spokesperson of the Labour Party. Sir, this national government has only just this year amended the Education Act and repealed the requirement for democratic elections and student representatives on tertiary institution councils. So this bill would repeal those changes which have only just in recent months been made and restore the requirement, for instance, that students be represented in governance on councils. Sir, these changes haven't even yet taken effect on all councils. On checking with some of our University Council websites, they still have councils operating under the previous council sizes. So it seems to me to be quite ludicrous to be wanting to tinker with a system which hasn't even been allowed to go through an initial trial period. Sir, those changes which the government made earlier this year were among a number of reforms which are designed to ensure that our education system is equipped both in a strategic sense but also with the flexibility to deal with both the challenges and opportunities that the 21st century will provide, but also, most importantly, to lift student achievement. We know that smaller, skills-based councils will be able to respond much more quickly and with much greater flexibility to the challenges of modern-day tertiary education. The National Party wants to help all students to get the qualifications they need to succeed and to be able to play their part in a growing economy and in a modern workforce. So these changes, which have only just been recently made, sir, will support our priority to build a more competitive and productive economy. Universities are still able to provide for staff representation and student representation on their councils, and they're doing so. And sir, this is a point I'll touch on a little later in my contribution, but it is a fact that 7 of the university councils have 1 student on their council, whereas the remaining institution actually has 2. So there is student representation currently in New Zealand. Also, 7 of the 8 have 2 staff positions on their council, with the remaining institution having 1 staff on council. So student and staff are represented. I think the member is attempting to solve a problem which doesn't actually exist. Sir, the old governance settings were not written with the modern world in mind, and I'll actually make a few comparisons with where our universities came from and where they are now. Sir, I'm proud to be a member of the Court of Convocation of the University of Otago. That was my alma mater, where I studied archaeology, politics, French, classics, gender studies, with other such fine people as the Minister of Finance, Bill English, the Chief Whip here, Tim McIndoe. Now, Otago is New Zealand's oldest university, dating from 1869. It has an endowment which may be a tiny fraction the size of that of some of the great international institutions, although it did inherit 100,000 acres of farmland when it was first established. It currently has a council of 20 members, and that will reduce to approximately 8 to 12. Whereas the other university at which I spent some time, the University of Oxford in the United Kingdom, is a collegiate research university with no known date of foundation, although there is some evidence dating back as far as 1096 for tertiary teaching. So it's been going for around 919 years at least. So it's the oldest university, sir, in the English-speaking world, and it's the world's 2nd oldest university, full stop. It enjoys an endowment of £4.5 billion, which is nearly 10 billion New Zealand dollars, equivalent probably to roughly the entire New Zealand annual tertiary education budget. Now, it might surprise members opposite to know that although the Council of the University of Oxford now comprises 24 members, there are no student members on that council. There are 3 observers, however, and that hasn't stopped the University of Oxford being regularly rated among the top.
Order. I am going to interrupt the member and ask him to deliver what is obviously a very well-prepared speech rather than read it. Paul Foster-Bill.
Mr. Speaker, the University of Oxford is regularly rated among the top 4 or 5 institutions in the world in such highly respected means of measuring university success is the Times Educational Supplement. Now, if we look at the University of Otago and their governance arrangements, there are 4 ministerial appointments on the board. And I want to point out, sir, that those are people of very fine quality. And I will refer to my notes for facts and figures, as I believe standing orders and Speaker's rulings allow me to do. So Mr Stephen Higgs, for instance, a ministerial appointment on the Otago University Council, is a partner in Paulson Higgs, a Dunedin accountancy and financial advice firm of great repute. He's also a director of Otago Innovation and is a trustee of the University of Otago Foundation Trust. We also have Mrs Donna Matahaere Atariki, the chair of Atoko Runanga and the author of many publications on Māori issues, the treaty, education and child development, who brings something of obviously a knowledge of tikanga, but also wider social issues in the Otago region. We have Dr Royden Somerville QC, a well-known Dunedin barrister who provides the legal expertise on the board. He's been appointed at Queen's Counsel in 1998. He also chairs the Knox and Salmond University College Councils, and Knox and Salmond form just 2 of the wonderful colleges they have at Otago. Like Oxford, Otago is a collegiate system. And then there's the Chancellor, Mr John F. Ward, a very fine Chancellor, but bringing to the University Council significant business experience. He is the chair of the SBS Bank. He's the chair of H&J Smith, but also of AJ Hackett Bungie, so tourism expertise. So we have appointed by the Minister of Education legal expertise, accounting expertise, business nous, and the Māori perspective and a wider social conscience. These people bring valuable skills that you may not actually be able to find among the academic research staff of such a university. So, sir, I think this demonstrates that, unlike the view taken by members opposite, university councils are not a training ground for the activists and political apparatchiks of the future. Their role, their important role, is to provide for a good quality education for the students who attend that institution and to make sure that their institutions are well governed legally, financially and in delivering on the outcomes that we expect of them. Sir, I do want to make a few other comparisons, both corporate and international. In the corporate world, company boards are seldom of the size of New Zealand university councils as they formerly were under the previous system. To give you one example, Apple, one of the world's leading companies, arguably the biggest based on turnover, has 8 members on its board of governance. Only 8, Mr Bishop, not 20 or 30 or 40 or however many it is Mr Cunliffe wants to put there. Infratil, which is a New Zealand leading infrastructure company, part owner in Wellington Airport for instance, has 7 members on their board of governance, and Zespri, one of our leading agricultural companies, has 8 members on their board. So, sir, I think having many board members is no guarantee of success. In fact, it seems to be quite the opposite. Now, if we make a few international comparisons with universities overseas, I've mentioned the University of Otago. We have the board of Harvard University, which is comprised of only 12 members, including the president. Now, like Oxford, Harvard is regularly rated among the very top tertiary institutions in the world. Now, there's Cambridge University, which isn't as good as Oxford, of course, but they have a governing council of 16 elected academic members, 4 external members and 3 student members. We have the University of Edinburgh, only 7 members on that particular council, and guess what? No students elected there. The University of Glasgow has 11 members on their overseeing council, no students there either. The London School of Economics, whilst it has an extravagant 19 members on their council, and you think economists would be a little bit more streamlined than that, they have no student members there. The University of St Andrews, another fine institution, regularly in the top 10, no student members on that board. The Imperial College, no student members. Yale University have 19 members of their board, no student members. Princeton University has an extravagant 23 members on the board, up to 40, and of those members, no current students. Now, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, leaders in science, technology, engineering, maths, includes no fewer than 7 and no more than 10 members of their board, and guess what? No student members. So, sir, New Zealand universities are democratic. There is good student representation. To be among that list of those very, very fine institutions, adding to the governance boards is not the right way to go about that. And, sir, for that reason, among the others I've discussed, this is a bill which cannot be supported. I will not be supporting it to go to committee, and I will not be commending it to the House.
That's right. Good speech. Very good.